Okay. So just like Linda was experiencing, what I was just sharing to Linda is something that I've shared in a couple of meditations, but I'm sure that there's a few of you who haven't seen it yet, and maybe for the people watching on the recording. Um, the just to clarify on what I was saying, when we're feeling intense anxiety, fear, or any type of trauma, the classic approach that is taught by most spiritual teachers is to be with your emotions, to experience them, to feel them, to address them and to act accordingly. And whereas this is this can be helpful in some scenarios, it doesn't resolve the emotion. And it may temporarily give us a coping mechanism, but it doesn't fully release the emotion. And this is because if we're focusing on an emotion to feel it, the only reason we would do that is if we're trying to get rid of it. There's only two reasons we do that. One is that we're enjoying it, like same reason we'd listen to music, same reason we would focus on a painting if we're enjoying the painting, or if we're trying to get rid of something. If there's something annoying in the room, a mosquito, all we can do is think about the mosquito. We just want to get rid of it. Where is it? Maybe I can slap it on my shoulder if I feel it close enough. Anything that we focus on is either to enjoy it or to remove it. Now, if admittedly you're not enjoying your emotion at that point, then any attention you give to that emotion is not going to do anything. You see, it would just be more of trying to get rid of the emotion. So this is an approach where instead of we can do um two paths to that. There's the path of inquiry, which is the path of understanding the emotion, finally saying, you know what, I have ignored you my whole life. Every time you've arose, I have tried to get rid of you. I have tried to heal you. I've tried to change you. I've tried to alchemize you. I've tried to supplement you with other things. I'm just going to do the one thing I've never tried, which is to actually understand what you are. And it's like you've lived with a flatmate for 2 decades, you never spoke to him. This is like getting to know the flatmate that you've never ever had the chance to or bothered to speak to. And then what we do is we simply experience both the combination of the thought and the feeling. That's what an emotion is, a thought and a feeling. A feeling is a bodily sensation, just like the sensation of your palms, just like touching your leg. And it's mixed with a thought. And the thought typically is a belief. So we have a combination of a thought that we give importance to, that's what a belief is, and a feeling. And when we combine a very important thought, such as I'm not good enough, I'm scared, I'm lonely, I am worried about this, we have this thought mixed with a bodily sensation. The combination of the two make an emotion. And that emotion is only resisted because of the thought that attaches to it. Think about it. If there's just a sensation of your legs on the chair, that's an equal sensation to the bodily sensation of anxiety, any type of emotional feeling. There's no difference. The difference is the thought we attach to it. So in the same way that we wouldn't just give our attention to the sensation of our leg on the chair because it's harmless, it's neutral, it doesn't bother us, there's no significance to it. Our emotions, on the other hand, they are sensations that we give particular priority to, and we resist them. And we resist them because they came from a time where we did not know how to not resist our experience. So in that time, we tried to not resist our experience. We resisted our experience because we didn't know how to not resist our experience. For example, I use the example when I was younger, my parents fighting in the living room. and the TV was on. I was watching a kids show. I remember the kids show, and this is when I was like 5 years old. I have very vivid memory. Why? Because it caused trauma. And it was the experience of watching a cartoon. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's the one with like this weird little, and like this weird like elephant thing. It's like yellow with red spots. It's not even an elephant. It just looks like some weird monster thing. Um, and I remember them vigorously very aggressively arguing. My mum pushes my dad over. He bangs his head against the fireplace curb. And I remember what's the word? Um uh what's the word when you dissociating from the experience. I remember I am watching the show, but all of my attention is on their argument, but I'm trying to like force myself to watch the cartoon to try and ignore what's going on. And I remember kind of dissociating and being in this fight or flight, like my heart is like beating, and I'm like, but I'm like still, like a deer in headlights. And what I'm doing is there's an experience happening and I'm resisting it. There's an experience happening, parents fighting, dad getting hurt, aggression, rage, anger. These are terrible experiences for a kid to be around. So I'm going, and this is what we're all doing, by the way. This is my experience, but whether it's a parent not appreciating our painting that we brought home from school, or whether it's our parents having an aggressive argument, there's no real difference. I'm not suggesting, oh, this is my terrible trauma. There's people experience way worse than that on one level, but ultimately there's no differentiation, you see? So whether it's bringing home a painting and your parents just not even giving significance to it, or whether it's an aggressive argument, there's an experience that we resist. And as a child, I don't know how to process that experience. And this is where stress comes in. So stress isn't just like, oh, I've had a shit day at work, I'm stressed out, give me a bottle of wine. That's not necessarily stress. Stress is the mechanism, stress is the time it takes to process a quick change in experience. So just process that for a minute. The time it takes to process a quick change in experience. So typically, where we're living about our day, we're pretty much expecting what's going to happen. If any movement happens over in that direction of my flat, I'm expecting it to be my girlfriend, you see, because I know she's in the room next door. So there's always an expectation that we have generally for most of our experience. If someone was to come and bash through the door and point a gun to my head, well, that's a very drastic change to my expectation. And the time it takes for me to adapt to that happening is what we call stress. Now, if we don't process that stress, it becomes trauma. And what's happening, the 5-year-old whose parents are arguing doesn't know how to process the quick change in experience, doesn't know whether he's safe. One minute they're fine, everything's fine. Oh, I feel safe. I'm watching cartoons. Next minute, bam, quick change in experience, not feeling safe, arguing, aggression. So what happens is, if I obviously, as a 5-year-old, I'm not just going to tomorrow go, do you know what, I'm going to do some spiritual healing and process that experience. It just goes into my subconscious and I start living about my life, carrying on. And there's a hint of lack of safety there. So that hint of lack of safety, gradually, we talk 20 years later, the process is recognized. You see, you recognize the process, and trauma comes back in other ways. So for the teenage years of my life, my mother had ended up passing away, ended up feeling very unsafe, you see, and that reflected in trauma in me, which was trying to do things to find safety. So without trying to sidetrack too much, what we're doing now is, when the emotion is recognized, we don't necessarily need to go back to the experience to solve it. I don't need to go back to when I was a 5 and talk to my 5-year-old self and heal my inner child. My inner child is always there. My inner child is my actual self. When people talk about their inner child, they're talking about themselves. They're not talking about themselves from 20, 50, 40 years ago. They're talking about themselves now. Their inner child is the part of themselves that right now is actually themselves, you see? the part of themselves which typically they've been neglecting. So we're saying, okay, this emotion that I'm feeling, I couldn't feel it when I was 5. I didn't know what to do with it then. But now I can experience that emotion and I can understand what's happening. And this process of understanding, we could say, puts us beyond our. Can you guys still hear me? My headset's just gone weird.
Yeah, I can hear you, mate.
Okay. So now we're having this experience, and emotions are simply these parts of experience that need to be felt, seen, and loved, and accepted for completely for what they are, which is just another experience. It's just another experience, just like you're having the experience of hearing my voice, just like you have the experience of the glow from that lamp shining on my face, just like you have the experience of looking out the window and seeing a bird. These emotions that we feel are as normal or as day to day, or as bear the same significance to any other experience. The only difference is we have a thought that tells us that we shouldn't face it. And the thought that tells us that we shouldn't face it is based on, it's like me saying, the last time that I was in an environment, I didn't feel safe. My safety it was related to survival. If I don't remove myself from this situation, my survival is at stake. And then it becomes life or death, then it amplifies the anxiety, and then most of the time, we don't even know why we're feeling these emotions. So if I was 5 years old, I didn't remember that memory. What happened when I was that age? I took a screenshot of everything around me. And that screenshot, whenever we have if I could have smelt the smell of orange juice and then not even known I smelled the smell of orange juice. But at that time, the orange juice smell was there. Then 15 years later, I repelled from orange juice. You see, that's what the mind will do, compartmentalize everything that happened in that experience to gradually remove us from it. Is this helpful, guys? Is this helpful to go into for today's session? Like, are you all resonating with this? Is this stuff that you've just heard before and that you'd like to move on, or is this something that's helpful?
I'll jump in here. Sorry. Yeah, this is ridiculously helpful.
Okay. Okay, good. So I'll talk more and then we'll do an exploration. Sorry, go on.
Oh no, I was going to say that is so spot on, so unbelievable. That's exactly how I've been feeling. Like
Okay.
like disconnecting. What did you say?
Dissociating.
Dissociating from my body.
Yeah.
Yeah, from what I used to do when I was 7 years old.
Yeah.
From a trauma, and just it's exactly what my nervous system's trying to protect me, but it's stuck in that way of that
it's not stuck. It just hasn't yet fully realized a new path. We're doing that path right now.
Yeah.
So trust me, once it realizes the new path, you won't even your mind won't hesitate. It won't hesitate.
Yeah.
So once it comprehends it and grasps it, it will just take the new path. It doesn't think about it. It just does it. You see?
Yeah. I just want to say that oh God, yeah, I completely disconnected from my body when I was 7 years old from a trauma. My mother took me to another country to live, took me away from family.
Yeah.
Because she met someone else. And I just remember I wanted to run away every day.
Yeah.
And I couldn't run away because I was in a foreign country. And so that's what I did. I disconnected from my body.
Yeah.
And I was getting bullied at the new school, and it's like, oh, this hit me yesterday. And what you're saying now, it's like I had to run away from myself to survive, sort of thing.
Yeah. I totally understand you.
Yeah. Oh, it's just what's been playing out in my life for decades. Yeah.
Yeah.
it's like the body's trying to keep itself safe. Is it?
Exactly.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Well, if you think back to, so guys, like, if you think back to, if we were in the forest and we ate, oh, okay, we're in the forest and we walked over a damp, foggy, soggy part of the ground. We seen we seen what footprints were present, and we could smell a certain flower. And then all of a sudden, a lion jumps out and tries to kill us. Our body will screenshot the entire experience that caused the stress because it was related to survival. And then we walked away from the forest. Now, every time we come back, we get anxious. Why? Because we could smell that scent that was there that one time. And now the only thing is that when we were in these more simpler times, we didn't have the same identity structure that we now have. So the identity structure was more simple. So the chances of our logic being, the chances of fear bypassing our intellect were much slimmer than they are now. Nowadays, instead of physical survival, the mind is, because we've developed a stronger sense of identity, it's now psychological survival. So whereas as a child, for example, my experience, it could have been potentially physically dangerous. It was physically dangerous. But ultimately, my parents would have never done anything to me. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't going to actually be an attack on my survival. But growing up, when you develop an identity, we relate survival to the survival of what we think we are, which is the body and the mind, our thoughts and feelings, our ideas and beliefs. Which is why then we try to protect our ideas and beliefs. We try to say, no, these are my ideas and beliefs. This is who I am. So anything that seems to attack us on a psychological level is also a life or death situation if we believe ourselves to be the mind. And this is what then perpetuates the cycle. So to come back to our experience, if we are now experiencing any type of fears and anxieties, therapy comes in when we cannot let go of the thought that attaches to the emotion. So that's the role of therapy. That's why therapy is important. Traditional therapy, psychotherapy, CBT, and my mind just gone completely blank. But the whole spectrum of psychology. And so therapy is basically uprooting the thoughts and beliefs that we cannot let go of. Because unless we can let go of those thoughts, we cannot process the emotion. So an emotion can basically be processed whenever we uproot the thought that keeps it contracted, that keeps it tight. So for example, I had a conversation before. I stopped the recording because it was getting personal. So I wanted for him to feel like open and not, kind of like everyone was going to watch him on the replay. So we canceled the recording. But in the conversation, he felt like he couldn't go out and speak to people. And he said he felt like a constant anxiety whenever he met anyone new. And I said, okay, so is the problem the feeling, or is the problem that you want to go out and you can't? He said, well, the problem's the feeling, because if I didn't have the feeling, I could go out and do what I wanted. So we addressed the feeling. And the minute I said, okay, well, can you in this moment just identify what's uncomfortable about the feeling? Because if you want to get rid of something, the only reason you would want to get rid of something is if you didn't like it. There's no other reason we want to get rid of something or an emotion, you see? If I like the sound of music that's playing, I don't want to turn it off. If I don't like the sound of music I'm listening to, then I'm going to want to turn it off. You see, it's that simple. So when we're experiencing these emotions, if we find it uncomfortable, it means we want to get rid of it. You see, if we want to get rid of it, it means we're finding it uncomfortable. Because if it wasn't uncomfortable, well, comfortable emotions we call joy, happiness, peace, excitement, whatever you want to call them, right? So we don't do anything with them. There's no point of doing that. So there's two approaches. I'm going to share both approaches. The first approach, and you can combine them, but the first approach is more of a tantric approach, and it's about understanding the emotion and what it is that we actually want to get rid of. Because the only reason we resist emotions is because we want to get rid of them. They're not comfortable. So we say, okay, well, the first question is, what is uncomfortable about the emotion? Can I find an aspect of this emotion, this feeling, that is uncomfortable? And the first thing will be, well, what is the emotion? Well, the emotion is this feeling in my chest. But when I spoke to my friend, a member of this community, we went to the emotion, but he said, when I asked him, he said, oh, it's this, well, the emotion is this thing that holds me back. Okay, it's the thing that holds you back, I understand, but tell me about the actual experience of the emotion. Like, what is the thing holding you back? Oh, it's just that I get anxious when I meet people. Okay, so it's the anxiety that you're worried about meeting people. But in this moment right now, what is it that is actually present that causes you to not want to meet people or to get anxious about when you speak to new people? And he said, oh, it's a feeling of that I just don't want to do it. So do you see how these questions, they're avoiding going to the emotion, they're avoiding going to the feeling. They're like beating around the bush, you see? And this is an example of not wanting to face the emotion. So when we resist an emotion, it stays because we don't want to look at it for whatever reason. Go back to my example, 5 years old, parents are arguing. I didn't want to see that. I was focusing on the TV. I didn't want to see it because it was scary. You see, if I was to focus on it, imagine a 5-year-old just staring at his parents arguing aggressively like that. Like, probably, I don't know if it do more harm than good. So it could possibly, I don't know. But anyway, you know what I'm trying to say. So, in the same way, imagine now, let's say 15 years later, an experience happens that triggers a similar fear of lack of safety. And in the same way, I didn't want to look at the experience then. I now mimic the behavior and I don't want to experience it now. So I resist it again. I hold back from experiencing it again because that's the way I've learned to deal with it. How did I deal with it when I was 5? I just avoided it, dissociated from it, experienced something else instead, distracted myself. Oh, I survived. I didn't die. That must be an effective way to handle these experiences. So my nervous system goes, oh, I remember that the last time this happened, the last time adrenaline, this feeling happened, the best way to handle it was to ignore it. So what do we do then? The next time an experience like that happens, we ignore it. Oh, I didn't die again. I survived. What a perfect strategy. So the body doesn't know if we were actually in a fight or flight experience. It could have been that we had stage fright. It could have been we were going to go on stage to sing our song or our poem, and we had stage fright. And it could be an experience harmless, but the body doesn't know any different. So it learns throughout our life, ignore, avoid, don't look at, because that's the best way to handle it. And then what happens when you do that for the rest of your life? Imagine not digesting food for the rest of your life. What would happen to your stomach? It would freaking explode, you see? You can't not digest food. In the same way, the mind has to digest energy. We are collecting energy all the time, right? We're perceiving, smelling, eating, tasting, sensing. We are like digesting information all the time. If that, and because we're not resisting it, like I'm not going to resist the light of the lamp, I'm not going to resist the sight of the computer, I'm not resisting my experience. And because we don't resist it, it just passes through. You see, it just passes through. Now, the minute that an emotion comes that I resist, I cannot let go of it. We don't let go of it. We hold it. It stays within us. So we collect these throughout our life, which is why some emotions can be extra strong. There's extra charge behind them. There's like probably hundreds, if not thousands of times where we've experienced the emotion and just decided to ignore it. So it builds up. So this is why it's so important to remove the thought that creates it, because that thought is the thing that holds on to it. The thought is, I don't want to experience it. The thought is, I don't want to experience it. And then it will come up with because it's tied to survival, it will come up with a really good reason why not to feel it. Oh, I don't want to feel it because my dad abandoned me and it was wrong and he shouldn't have done that and I blame him. You see, that's a perfectly good so I don't want to feel this emotion. It's my dad's fault. He abandoned me. I shouldn't feel this way. He shouldn't have done that. And what we're doing is we're saying, instead of feeling this emotion and facing it, I will bypass it with creating enough reasons to ignore it, because I know that the best strategy is to ignore it. You see? So this is why we come up with these concepts. So the best way to kind of process it is to really see that that's not an effective approach. Is to just see that, oh, doing that is actually not very effective. Because ultimately we're only doing it because we think it works. But we don't realize that we're doing it because we think it works. We're doing it automatically. But our nervous system, our conscious, our psychosomatic system is believed that was a pretty good way of dealing with it, because lo and behold, the body did survive. Now we're just simply bringing this recognition, realizing, okay, that's not the most effective approach. So then we say, well, what's the most effective approach? Well, the most effective approach is to actually, let's check the validity of the emotion. What is it that I'm trying to escape? So then we look at it. Sorry, this has been a long-winded way of getting to this point, but I hope the emphasis has helped clarify a few things. So it's always a sensation. Whenever we say we have an emotion, it's a sensation somewhere, some experience that we're having, that we're experiencing, and it's always in the body. So the first thing we do is we be gentle with ourselves and we just say, what is it? What is it that I'm running from? If we remove the thought about it, let's just assume that right now we've removed the thought about it. We can do that by seeking the truth of the thought. Okay, the investigation is primarily predicated upon my desire to see the truth. Just like an experiment in a science lab, it's predicated upon my desire to see the truth. And I would upgrade that with your parental desire to provide safety, emotional stability for your child. You're not trying to change your child. You're not trying to do anything to change who they are. You're just being there for them. So we have this impersonal loving interest in the emotion. We're not trying to get rid of it. We just want to understand it. We've given up trying to get rid of it. We know that we can't. There's no point in trying. So now we're just like, well, I may as well get to know it. So in this process, we see that this emotion is really just a sensation, a neutral sensation that we're experiencing. If you have any type of emotion, and if you don't right now, you can visualize it, you can imagine it. It's the same thing. So let's just say that the feeling is a feeling in the stomach or in the chest. And what we find is that if it's so dangerous, if it's such a problem that we shouldn't face it, it must have some pretty vigorously dangerous qualities. To avoid something for so long, it must have some huge reason existing inside it that we shouldn't face. And this is why it takes courage. And that courage we all have, it's innate within us. And we look. Now, this isn't always an easy process. Like I mentioned with a member of the community before. We went through the investigation and we were in a loop for a while of going to the emotion. And instead of going to it, it'd say, no, but it's the problem that I just feel like I don't want to see people. Okay, but tell me about the emotion. Oh, the emotion says that I'm not feeling safe. And so it always go back to the thought. So the thought we have to vigorously check the truth of, and we have to trust ourselves. So if we have an experience that says I'm not good enough, let's just use a very clear one. I'm not good enough, so I feel lack. And the feeling of lack is somewhere in my body. The question is, am I actually not good enough? You see? It's obviously not true, because good enough for what? Right? We have to be very, very honest with ourselves. Good enough for what? Good enough for love? Good enough to be loved? How could someone not be good enough to be loved? If you look at our experience, there is no hierarchy. You see, there's no hierarchy to anyone. No one's deserving of more or less love. We all come to this earth naked, alone. Well, technically we're not alone, but technically we do come through alone in one degree. So we're not going to go into that right now, but what I'm saying is the truth needs to be investigated in these beliefs. And we have to trust ourselves to have the authority over our experience to know what is true and not true. That's a fundamental thing. The next thing then would be going to the emotion, and that emotion might still be there. Most cases it will be. But what is left is not fueled by the belief. So now we can go and feel this emotion, and or which now is really just a sensation. And what I want you to do is just to go to this emotion or this feeling and notice that it's simply that, a sensation. A sensation is exactly what we experience all the time. We're always experiencing a sensation of some degree. Whether we touch our knee, whether we touch the sofa, whether we get excited. There's no difference between an external sensation and an internal sensation. They're all experienced as a sensation. So if you go to this feeling, what you do then is you just go towards the facts of the experience. So we don't go to concepts. We remove all concepts. We experience this as if we were just born. We have no concept of size or shape. We have no concept of density. It's just a raw experience. What is the actual experience of it? Because only then can we verify whether it should be avoided or not. So we're in this experience. We're not just here going, oh, I'm going to heal this and get rid of it, and then I'll feel better. We're actually saying, no, well, if there's a possibility, maybe I should resist it. Maybe this emotion is dangerous, and maybe I should resist this emotion. I'm open-minded. I'm impartial. I'll do whatever the truth I'll do whatever the truth says. You see? And in that openness, we can actually explore it, because we're not there going, oh, I'm going to fully accept you one day and then you'll disappear. You see? One day you're going to be fully healed and I'll feel amazing. We're not doing that. We're saying, well, it may be necessary for me to absolutely resist you for the rest of my life. It also may appear that you are harmless, but let's figure that out experientially. So now we're in this feeling, and we're saying, well, where is the discomfort coming from? Which part of it do I want to get rid of? And we try to look for the part that we want to get rid of. We'll say, oh, I want to get rid of this part. It's in my stomach. That's the part that feels uncomfortable. It feels sharp. And we say, okay, well, what's the, when you say sharp, what does that actually mean? What is sharpness to this emotion? The sharpness is, it's a kind of painful. Okay, well, where is the pain? Oh, the pain is somewhere. And then we try to find the pain. The pain must be the discomfort. If it wasn't uncomfortable, it wouldn't be painful. So the pain is just discomfort. Where's the discomfort? We come back to that. Oh, the discomfort is, and then we'll try to come up with another adjective to describe the discomfort, like it's heavy. Oh, it's intense. We say, okay, heavy is in weight. Does it have a weight? Okay, no, it doesn't have a weight. But it's intense. Okay, where is this intensity and how can you verify it's intense? Oh, because it's uncomfortable. And then we go to avoiding it. Do you see how all these answers are just aversions to looking at it? We go from, oh, it's sharp, to it's painful, back to it's uncomfortable, back to it's heavy, back to we're using adjectives that completely avoid looking at it. They're like, it's like me trying to describe what's on my screen by looking in this direction. Oh, it's got colors, it's this, it's that. It's like, if we look at it, we're never going to know. You see? So notice that every adjective we give, if adjective is the right word to use there, every adjective we give is always in avoidance of it. We're trying to describe it by it without looking at it. You see, we're still resisting it. And the closer we get, the less painful it is. And that's the beauty of this process. We get closer and closer. Oh, maybe it's not so dense. Or this intensity. How intense is it? Oh, it's pretty intense. Okay, well, let's compare. Let's just verify the intensity. Is it as intense as a toothache? Oh, no, nowhere near as intense as a toothache. God forbid you had an emotion that was a thought tied to a toothache. That would be hell. So it's not as intense as a toothache. Okay. Is it as intense as a headache? No, it's not as intense as a headache. Okay, so it's not as intense as a toothache or a headache. Is it as intense as the sensation of your touching your hands together? Actually, no, it's not as intense as me touching my hands together. Touching my hands together seems to be equally as, it seems to be more tense, but it just seems to be less, it doesn't seem to be as uncomfortable. You see? If you were to push your palm like this into your thigh, that will be more intense than any feeling emotion that you have. So we can uproot this intensity, because this intensity is not really intense. You see, the intensity we feel is to the extent in which we're resisting it. So if it's very intense, we can rest assured we are intensely resisting it, you see? So when we say it's intense, it's not, the intense is not really an experience we're having. So we say, okay, well, it's not that intense. What we do is we say, well, which part is the problem? It's not really heavy. It's not really sharp. If it's sharp, can you find an edge? And then the person, no, you can do this right now. You look in your experience, you find, no, can't find an edge. Okay, can you find a border? Where does it start and end? I can't really find a start or an end. Okay, so if it doesn't have a start or an end, can it have a size or a shape? Size and shape, they're dictated by an edge. Okay, so it doesn't have a size or shape. Doesn't have a sharpness, because sharpness you can't have sharpness without an edge. It's not intense. It's not as intense as a headache. It's barely as intense as touching my hands together. So which part of it, what is left of the emotion? Well, it's like this cloud-like sensation. And we say, okay, well, oh, that's interesting. It's like a cloud-like sensation. What else is there? And the minute we notice that, the minute we go to the emotion, what happens when we directly look at it? Now we're getting very, very close. In your experience right now, guys, if you have any emotion, you can even just visualize it or imagine it. It's the same thing. What happens when you look at it directly, when you stare at it, when it's vividly seen without any agenda? It starts to disappear. The minute of looking at it, it starts to disappear. It starts to evaporate. Now, with more a higher severity of emotions, more emotions that have been there for longer, it's not just going to evaporate that instantaneously, but it's not a problem at this stage. You see, because we're no longer resisting it. So now our job is to really say, oh, so all this time I've been running from this harmless, almost non-existent sensation. Non-existent in the sense that it has no real size or shape. When I look at it, all I find is it's almost like it disappears the minute I see it, and then it appears somewhere else, and then I look to that somewhere else, and then it disappears from there. So we're constantly, every time we look, it disappears. It's like those little dots in our eyes, and we try to look at them, and then they bounce, and they move away. So now in this moment, we're not focusing on it to get rid of it. We're focusing on it purely because this is a fascinating experience. This is absolutely fascinating. It's like discovering Mars. It's like landing a spaceship on the moon, somewhere we've never been before, ever. We've never been this close. We've never been this intimate with such an intimate part of our life. It's fascinating. It's a purely love. It's purely passion. You see? Do you see the difference between that attitude and the attitude of trying to remove the suffering? Very big differences. So now we're with this sensation, and we say, well, this sensation is actually not really a problem. And then we say, well, it's there though, but so what's it made of? What is it fundamentally made of? Because it appears to be something. I don't know what it is. It's not quite as harmful as I thought it once was. So what might it be made of? Well, the only thing that I experience, the minute it disappears, nothing takes place. But then it appears somewhere else. I go there and it seems to vanish again and appear somewhere else. What appears when it disappears? Well, nothing, exactly. Nothing but what? Nothing but awareness. When we say nothing appears, what we're saying is that I am aware there is nothing there. But if I am aware there's nothing there, then I must be aware there's nothing there. And if I'm aware there's nothing there, then all I experience is pure awareness. So what we're seeing is that actually what I've been running from my entire life is pure awareness, pure imperturbable awareness, pure consciousness. And actually, this whole sensation, it's made of awareness. There's nothing else there in order for it to be made of. It's not made of your lungs. It's not made of your liver. It's not made of your skin or your cells. What else could it be made of? What other substance could create this experience? The only substance that's there, awareness. And the minute we see that, that's when these emotions are left to free. We free them in that. We free them in that recognition that they're made of the one substance, the only substance there, pure awareness. And every time we've resisted or avoided experiencing them fully, we've only been running from ourselves, literally, to the most fundamental degree. We have been running from pure awareness. So this is why in the Kashmir traditions, they consider it surfing. They consider it surfing the waves of experience. They look forward to these big, like a surfer sits in the ocean and he's looking out for the big waves that are coming, and he's getting excited because he's ready to surf it to the shore. So too do they in the Kashmir tradition. They're waiting for these big emotions to arise, these feelings to arise, so that they can surf them into being, surf them into pure consciousness. So what I would suggest is obviously understanding emotions in this way, converting our interest from wanting to remove it to actually giving ourselves the freedom to suffer, stopping trying to remove the emotion, and now just getting to understand it, to know it for the sake of the truth. The truth purifies all desires. That's the reason. That's the reason we should know anything, purely for the sake of the truth. And we don't have to make that up. It's not something we have to go, I'm going to desire the truth because I know that it will get rid of my emotions. We all have an innate desire for the truth. People want the truth even if it hurts them, in most cases. So that would be the second thing. The third thing would be to, once you get used to this, I would recommend getting used to this process I shared with you first. But then there will be a time where you do this without thinking about it, like riding a bike. It will be what happens. It won't be something you do. It will be your baseline attitude to these emotions. And you won't necessarily guide yourself in the way that I verbally, kind of took you through that process. Once you do this enough, it's like learning a language. But beyond that point, there will be some emotions that they're strong. There's something that has deep roots, typically from memories you don't know where they've come from. Typically from places you have no idea why it's there. And so long as you see this in the way that you do, you don't need to necessarily go back. That's what therapy is for. If you feel like you need therapy to clarify things, that's perfectly fine. But ideally, we don't want to have to limit ourselves to needing therapy. The goal of therapy ultimately is to not need a therapist, right? So the most effective approach that I have found, and it's the approach that I live by, and it's the path of forgiveness. It's the path of pure forgiving all experience to take place exactly as it is. And in that sense, it's not really a path. You see, it's the startless path. And this path is pure love, pure devotion. It's a complete desire to see everything naked, vulnerable, afraid, and to love absolutely every aspect of it. To see all experience as like each individual seeming part to experience, to see it like a gift from God. And God, in this analogy, is like a playful child. It's found a new toy, it's found a really good stick. It's like a child who's found something they're just super proud of finding. And every experience, every object you see, every feeling you feel is God going, look at this. How beautiful is this? This exists. It's just looking at it in awe. That has no idea what it is. It's like Ariel on The Little Mermaid when she finds a fork. And she's like, whoa. And she collects her little doohickeys and what's-its and whatever she calls them. It's like that. It's just fascination, interest, love, devotion to all things. And when this is your attitude, all experience is forgiven. All experience, you are forgiving. You are giving beforehand all experience to take place exactly as it is. That is what forgiveness is. An aspect of forgiveness is saying, yes, I accept you've done something wrong and I forgive you for that. That's a relative, more limited forgiveness, but that's the seed of the infinity in the human experience. That type of forgiveness, the fact that we somehow innately have this power to accept something, not just anything, not just accept that our child is gay or accept that our child wants to be a different gender. That's not the same acceptance, right? To truly accept something that we fundamentally believe someone has done an injustice for, to accept something like that against us, to accept something like that, to somehow have humans with completely zero, understanding for any spiritual matters, that's beautiful. That's a miracle. So now we apply that same natural capacity, natural ability, which, if we want to call it that, from the point of view of a human, that's an ability. From the point of view of what we are, that's just business as usual. That's the obvious thing to do. You see, it's like it's like when Superman has super strength, and Superman has all his powers on planet Krypton, but when he comes to Earth, compared to the humans, it looks like super strength. You see, it looks like, but for Superman, that's just business as usual. It's like his natural days. He walks around that strong all the time. It's not a big deal. You see, that's the truth. That's the forgiveness of our being. It's all accepting, and all our being, every situation we've created in our lives, so to speak. We haven't really created our experience in that way, but every experience where we have suffered, every experience where we have lied, every experience where we've done something that seems to be inherently wrong, we've given ourselves that freedom. We give ourselves that freedom. We've also given ourselves the freedom to suffer. We've given ourselves the freedom. Every time we have chosen to suffer, we have given ourselves that freedom. Every time we have resisted our experience, we have given ourselves the freedom to resist our experience. So to wrap this all up into one ribbon would be to understand that every single experience that we have ever had and will ever have, we have given ourselves the freedom to experience it. So the only thing necessary in the path of forgiveness, the path of devotion or love, is to continue to give ourselves the freedom to experience our experience, and therefore to give ourselves the freedom to suffer. And as a consequence, to give ourselves the freedom to be. And in that freedom, we have if we actually go to that place where that freedom ends up, we have surrendered the suffering, because suffering cannot take place when we have fully given ourselves the freedom to suffer. And that is true forgiveness. So I hope this was helpful, guys. We didn't really have much time for many questions. I suppose we can go through some now if you guys have any. If there's anything that you'd like to go through.
Yeah, I just want to say that's put a whole nother meaning on being present with something. That's a whole nother way of being, because I was thinking I was being with everything, but I was still being with the story.
Yeah.
Which keeps you in that loop. So that was so clarifying. Thank you. That was really,
That's my
oh,
pleasure.
really good. I'll listen to this
I
again.
think I had a similar thing this weekend as well. It's like you said about the digestion of information. I think just things collected over the week of experiences and emotions, and they were just sort of all pent up. And yeah, just I think because in so many non-duality teachings, they tell you to really zone in on it and focus. And I think that's where it gets misconstrued, where you think you focus on the story of it rather than the sensation, or how to just accept and let it be, and then it sort of it snowballs, I guess. But yeah, this is really helpful, mate.
Yeah, I'm glad. Yeah, thank you, man. Yeah, I completely agree with you. It's and that's typically what people don't know how to distinguish between the emotion and the belief. And if they can't distinguish between the two, the natural thing is to go to the emotion, do the natural pattern of avoiding it, go back to the thought, because the thought's more intoxicating and more addictive than the feeling. And the thought perpetuates the feeling, and then we get stuck in the cycle. Yeah, so you're absolutely right, man. It's very important to make those clear distinctions between what's actually happening in our experience.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's an optical illusion. I don't know if you know it. There's where the dots, and if you look directly at the dot, it disappears. But on your periphery, there dots appear. So it's kind of interesting how you point that. It's very similar to, that kind of illusion.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's it, exactly that. That's I for some reason I was thinking of those dots that appear in your eyes, like those little bubbles.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But yeah,
they call them floaters.
Yeah, floaters. But that optical illusion is way more accurate. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up. I'll use that again. Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Cool.
So even like if you say like someone who's struggling really hard with PTSD, like your Vietnam vet who has gone through like 3 tours in Vietnam and he's got all this trauma. Even this person, theoretically, if they were to go through this process of just looking at their experience, not resisting it, they would find that like the source of the problem would disappear because it's your pain, like the sensations you're feeling, they almost become trivialized. Like they're not as bad as you once thought they were if you just paid attention to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And theoretically, yes, but on a practical level, let's just go with the example of the Vietnam veteran. It's probably most necessary for them to go through a traditional therapeutic process purely because of the intensity of the experience. Sometimes people need a more sensitive, slightly more indirect approach, just so they can, think about it to ease into it. So this is an approach that it's like you could think of it as like the final straw, because it's the one where you just vigorously surrender to it. But if the nervous system has heavily tied that surrendering to death, which in most cases people do, then it's not going to be as effective. It's going to need a longer, more progressive approach. But theoretically, yes, anyone who understands these matters, for most cases, will have this will be more effective. Yeah.
Makes sense.
I think something I learned a long time ago that really stuck with me with all matters to do with psychological and physical pain is that the body and mind are regeneration machines. They are built to regenerate. And I think that's where no matter how wounded you are, no matter how deep, I get that people want to be really careful. We will always regenerate. Yeah, you have to. It's the point of the body. It will constantly fix and refix, and you can apply it to pretty much everything. And it doesn't necessarily fix everything, but just that knowing that is there, like knowing that we are awareness. You're caught there where you're like, it's a pair of safe hands that I found,
Yeah. No, I completely agree, man. It's yeah, that it is. We are like those little lizards that grow their tails back. We don't necessarily grow our tails back, but you know, with everything other than growing back limbs, we're pretty much, you know, we can heal anything. And that's
Mhm.
where the true healing comes from. It's like, well, the only thing that would stop us healing then is what's getting in the way. It's like what's stopping the growth from happening. When I say growth, I mean metaphorical growth. It's like what's preventing the healing, and awareness, like being with our being this forgiveness. Nothing can get in the way of that. If you are in that moment, there's nothing left to get in the way. So even if it feels like there's still this sense of suffering, or that you're still having challenging emotions, so long as our intention is in that place of true forgiveness, it will, without realizing it, will be absorbing like a moth to a flame all the things that are getting in the way of that healing process. Yeah. Thanks for sharing
Can I
that, Matt.
say, oh, sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, can I just say how you took us through that journey? I think the non-duality path is probably so much more healing because it takes you away from that subject object, you know, because we look at a story as a thing, and we look at sensation as a thing. But what you took us through just now, it's sort of going beyond that that something is a thing. I'm not explaining myself very well, but
no, you're right.
because your mind latches onto things, doesn't it? So,
Yes.
and we're sort of going beyond the thing and going to awareness, which is probably why why it was so powerful what you took us through, because you're going beyond what your mind can grab onto, which is the story, sensation, the labels. And it's teaching you to keep inquiring, isn't it? Like on a deeper level.
Yeah.
Sort of going past the mind because we go here straight away, and it's like that's where you get stuck. But it's like you just got to keep going deeper and deeper and deeper.
Exactly.
Letting go of the thing, the label. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
and we're exploring as consciousness as well. The whole exploration is done as pure consciousness, because it's all a witnessing, it's all it's just a looking process. It's just a looking. We're not, if we ask if we're using a thought, it's simply just to ask a question, like just to verify something. You see, like, what is the weight of the feeling, or where is the sharpness? You see, we're asking a question to provoke another insight. And it's in that complete transparent investigating, or seeing, that we are naturally, we can't have an intention with that. You know, it's like have an intention at looking at a piece of art. It's like you don't really have an intention with it. You just look at it. Why? For the sake of the art, right? That's the same way that we see this.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Guys, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
I'm gonna have to jump off so I can get some food ready. See you later, guys.
Thank you so much, mate.
It's my pleasure. Take care, everyone. I'll post this recording up on the group.
Great.
See you
Thanks so
soon.
much, Saja.
My pleasure.
Take care.
Bye, Linda. Bye, Matty. Bye, Carly.
Bye.
See you, Aldo.